Hey, yeah, I'm Jonathan Brodsky. Yeah, I'm sort of recently from the UK, as you can tell from my accent. Anyways, right, so today I'm going to talk about games as instruments and how you can make games that can also be used to create music. So first up, a little bit of history about my company, right? We're called Lucky Frame, and we're basically like three people, two of which have been working together since university. So me and my buddy Yen, that's Yen playing the guitar on the left. That's me with more hair 10 years ago on the right playing Game Boy. And that's a bicycle co-op called Free Ride. So that was really a really fun part of my life. Where I wrote Game Boy music and played at kind of like anarchist bicycle punk shows. Right, so anyways, yes, writing music with Game Boy. Flash forward a few years later, my buddy Yen made this thing called the Wii Loop machine, which was a piece of software that you could like chop up loops and like do cool beats and stuff using a Wiimote. And that was neat. He managed to make a fool of himself on webcam, and lots of people like that. So, right, his YouTube video got lots of watches, and that was an interesting experience for us. So those are some of my designs for the next version of the Wii Loop machine. A few years after that, I finally knew how to program. So this is me. Like, I was starving after university, so I taught myself how to program, and then I made this music toy for iPhone called Music, where it's like the initial version was like a Amen chopper where you could make sweet jungle beats, and then we toned it down a little bit and had like these lightning bugs and this whole kind of like whimsical thing happening. So yeah, anyways. After that, I was like, man, I would really like to make a video game. That was my lifelong goal, and I finally know how to program. So why don't I make a video game that lets other people make music? So like all those prior projects were, we take a video game thing, right? Like somebody else did the Game Boy one, but I spent a ton of time just writing music on Game Boy because I was so familiar with the D-pad and the B and A buttons, and it was like part of my life. Like one of my earliest memories is playing Mario. So like from there on, it's just natural to use that interface to make things that I love. Right, so game players are dedicated to their interfaces. So can we figure out how to use that dedication to let them make things that they own and make things that are really theirs? So one point that I want to make is that like that's one of my early designs, like this crazy chord plus like movement thing, and that's one of my newer designs, which is literally a finger punching a screen. It's not about like the dexterity necessarily. It's about the fact that you know, you're just comfortable around these things, and it's nice to make creative stuff in a comfortable environment. Anyway, so let me show you this prototype of a game called Space Hero. Oh, this might be mad loud. Yep, nope, not at all. So right, like this is a drum machine that generates a crappy shmup. Obviously, this is a prototype because the collision detection is beyond bad. All right, right. So that's Space Hero. So right, it's a two-phase thing. Like you have a composition phase where you place this, you set up this drum machine, and then you have a play phase where you shoot the drums out of the air. We ended up not making that because of this composition performance split. Like, to me, that would naturally create the either you're playing games or you're creating games. And what I wanted to do was make the game player the creator. I wanted to make the game player like own their compositions. It seems like an important point to mention Guitar Hero. So all music games, when I say I make music games, I have this vision inside other people's minds where they see that, and I fucking can't stand it, right? Because I'm not a huge fan of Guitar Hero. Like, the core thing of Guitar Hero is playing other people's music, and although you have that feeling of like I'm a rock star, and that's what what they sell you on, you're not owning what you're creating, and that's really important to me. Yeah, Minecraft does it already, so fucking I give up. Except like like the music stuff in it is Minecraft covers everything, so of course they had to cover music. What we wanted to do was take what Minecraft does for like in an optimal world, right? Like we could do something that's for music, what Minecraft is for kind of sculpture and architecture. I'm not trying to clone Minecraft. So like one of the things that we thought about was where we could find play within composition. So like if the act of creation is a play act. So here's an example. This is a score for In C, which is a Terry Riley piece from 1962. You can see there's a bunch of different sections of music, and the individual performers have the decision-making process for when they're going to move to the next step of music. So it gives the performer themselves some control over the creative act. This is a transcription of an even earlier one, 1792 music game that may or may not have been done by Mozart, but who gives a fuck, because there was like 10,000 of these occurring at the time. There's like a ton of, I don't know what they're called, where people, manuscripts, right? So this particular one, you could take any word, plug it into this system, and get out a piece of music that was generated by that word, which is a pretty neat thing, right? Like it's this random generated music world. Another thing that we thought about a ton is like drum machines. Like I have written music on drum machines exclusively, basically. And like while it's a composition interface because it stores your pattern, and when you press play, it plays it back. So it's kind of like a score. At the same time, it's something that you can perform with, and it's something that you can play, right? And then there's this other thing, like, I don't know if anybody knows the Tenorion, but hopefully people know about Electroplankton, which is another project by Toshio Iwai, and that was super inspiring to us. Okay, so let me talk about this first game that we made. So I wrote a piece of software for that box, which is called a monome. I wrote a piece of software called SHM, which was a shortened version of Shambolish, which was the name of the band that I played the software in. So the way that software worked was like you'd hold down the buttons on the grid, and it would start jumping. The light would start flashing and jumping between these points on the grid. And then, right, so then you could hold multiple buttons and then have multiple lights jumping between points on a grid. So you could have multiple things happening at one time. So once we started making a game out of that, we just like created a character, and then there was like a logic to the way the character worked. Like he couldn't just zap between places on the grid because like he's a little squidgy dude, and obviously he needs to squidge along the ground. And then, like, since he's squidging along the ground, he'll probably be affected by different terrains and stuff. So that's like a game, right? So here's what came out of that. All right, whatever. I don't want to talk about that game. It's out already. That was fun to make. One of the things that happened in that game that we did was we like reduced the keyboard inside of it, so you couldn't play the most fucked up music in the world. Like it sounded good, and we quantized things. So a nice thing about making music games is that you can kind of like cybernetically enhance your players. So even though they're not musicians, they're like this crazy robot man-machine meld that it can like make beautiful music without traditional training, which is really nice. Let me show you another quick prototype of something that we might make if I can figure out what to do with it. All right, that's enough of that one. So, like, the cool thing about that is you have control over your environment, and there's these little repeating systems. And I think that as soon as you have control over the environment and repeating systems, you obviously have a game, like, immediately. And that's kind of all you need, really, to make an instrument. Let me show you the next one. We took a different approach. Rather than coming from, like, a music thing, let me show you this video. All right. Anyways, hold on. Let me pause this video that's playing real quick. Oh, jeez. You can't pause videos? All right. So anyways, that was a literal take on a tower defense game that I did for a game jam, and I thought it was pretty fun. And so I was like, what if I could map music on top of it? So what I did was I made this next prototype trying to figure out where the player control was within the game. All right, that's kind of a weird song, so I'm not going to subject you guys to it too much. But I think, like, yeah, we're currently making a whole game out of that right now, which may or may not be insane. But so what we did was we took that initial tower defense game and we found what structure within it we could apply to music. So in that case, it was like this tree structure of your branching hotel, and like if you take a tree structure, then you can start applying notes to the tree. And the other thing that we did was we, or in that prototype that I'm doing, is I took all the music away from things that the player didn't have control over. So like the enemies don't make sound anymore. But what the enemies do is they're kind of like antagonists that control the song itself. So what I add is some kind of cultural expectation or system of like how a song should go, and I define that by the enemies themselves. Yeah, so I just want to, I think, how am I doing on time? When do I end?
You're perfectly in time. You're just below 1/2, actually.
Oh my God, I am rushing. I apologize. I should speak way slower. Yeah, so those are just like some of our games and prototypes that we're working on. I want to show some other examples because I think there's a bunch of people that are doing things right now that are kind of capturing what we wanted to do with making music games that are about composition and about ownership over your music. If people that made these games are in the audience, stop me. I'm just going to talk on top of this video. So, right, this is a game called Tambor that you can buy right now if you want. It's online. And it's kind of like a call and response game. And you can play it with anything that can produce audio. So in the first one, it was like drum machines, and the next one, it's whatever, blah, blah, blah. But what I think is really nice about it is that even though you play instruments to play this game, there's no requirement to stick to a fixed pattern. Like you aren't playing Led Zeppelin, which is great. Yeah, okay. So the next one is Fract OSC, which I'm sure a ton of people have heard of. What the? I apologize. The last video is playing on top of that as well. Anyways, in Fract OSC, you get like a mashup game right here. This is my custom version of Fract OSC. Right, so it's a game in which you use drum machines to solve puzzles, or I guess like sequence synthesizers to solve puzzles, and then you use those bits of sequencers to build a studio environment in which you solve bigger puzzles, et cetera, and on and on. Like the puzzles in this game are well defined, so there's maybe a few solutions to them, but there's within that space, there's space to experiment with the music that you create using it. The last one that I want to mention is Proteus. Yeah, thanks. It's not mine, but the guy who made it is here, and you can play over in the other room. Here's something that happened when we made that first game with Pugs Love Beats. Was somebody said it has a really great interactive soundtrack, which was the most fucking disheartening thing in the world to hear, because it's this really passive way of understanding your interaction with the game, right? Like, it has an interactive soundtrack. I had, I enjoyed the story that was told to me. I walked down a linear hallway and shot some guys. But like, if you flip it and you think about, oh, I really have a lot of agency within this game, even the act of walking through a landscape is a musical act in a way, right? Like, I've taken out my headphones and I'm hearing the world around me, and that's my iPod now. Like, there's historical precedent, right? Like musique concrète is like a standard example of music that's made by just recording the environment and playing it back. And when you take into account that agency that you have within the game, you're actually, as a persona or avatar, someone that's creating the game. All right, that's it, except I have one quick game to play, and it's kind of like an improv thing. I don't have a name for it yet, but today I'm going to call it Noise Charades. I can play the first round, and then if anybody wants to play as well, that would be super cool. I was hoping there was a podium that I could hide behind while playing this game, because when you play it, you automatically start playing charades, which is hard to make it work. Can I unclip this mic? Do you mind? Or can I just... here, I got it. Watch this. All right. So I need 3 words. Somebody say a word. Wait, cat? What's the next word? I need another word. Come on, speak up. Words. Okay, supercali, etc. And then one more? Creative. Okay, so, right, so I'm going to make a noise for one of those words, and then you guys have to guess what it is. Okay, hold on. Before you guess, those that think it's cat, was that the first word? Raise your hands. Yeah, okay. And then the next one, who thinks it was supercalifragilistic, etc.? Okay, and then the next one, creative? All right, so those that guessed supercal, etc., won. Does anybody else want to play this game? It's really fucking simple. You just make noise into a mic. You don't even need to stand on the stage. I think this goes lower. No? I'll do one more. Oh, yeah, do it. Okay, first, so you just pick one of the 3 words. One word?
Fight.
Fight. Chair is another word, and one more
Chair
word.
or chair?
Chair.
Tree.
And tree.
Okay. Why am I doing this?
Do it. Just make a noise for one of those words. Pick it. All right. So, what were they? Fight.
Chair and tree.
Chair. Raise your hands.
For which one?
Okay, so raise your hands for fight. Raise your hands for chair. Raise your hands for tree. Yeah, all right. Good job, everyone. I guess I'll take that applause as like a sign that I should stop. Thanks very much.
So we still got about 10 minutes for Q&A. So roast him.
Yeah, I'm sorry I went so fast. We could play more that noise charade.
I want to hear some more Bugs Love beats.
Oh, really? Okay. I'll put it on.
And please a few words how the mechanic actually works.
Oh, man, really?
Yes.
Okay, so Pug Love Beats. I'm just going to play oh, God. Pugs Love Beats. Why is it not playing anymore? Right. Okay. So in Pugs Love Beats, you have these musical dogs, like musical space pugs, and they need to collect beet roots to rebuild their galaxy. And as you send them out to collect the beet roots, you create different music because each of the terrain cells has a different sound and note applied to it, right? So mechanically, beyond that, it's kind of a checklist game. Like you're just collecting beats to unlock new terrains, which... So that's like the swamp terrain that you hear, that kind of weird bass line. And then you like can dress them up in hats and clothing, which give them different speed on the different terrain, etc. Yeah, that's the mechanics of Pugs Love Beats. During the process of making it, I flipped back and forth between making a free-to-play and a not free-to-play app, which was like a painful process from a game design standpoint, and I'm never going to do that again. AKA, I'm never going to make free-to-play apps. So it's not a free-to-play app. It's a game that you pay for once, and you get the whole thing up front. But that still shows during the process of making it. Yeah, that's Pugs Love Beats.
It was great that you could make one of the bugs sing if you just like.
Oh, yeah.
It's the best.
Yeah, I guess I should actually show my game to people. Sorry. Yeah, I can show what you're talking about if I just hook this up again.
Universal?
I feel like I'm selling something almost. Yeah, it's Universal. Yeah, I'll just fast forward to that like singing thing. Yeah, right. You can see that it's a Universal app in our like promo video here. Yeah, so yeah, anyways, yeah, it's pretty silly. I guess I'd be remiss to like pat myself on the back and say that I got an IGF nom, which was nice and surprising. Any other questions? Yeah, what's up?
Would you like to explain this thing you just mentioned about why you went for paid app and not free to play? Or why did you?
Oh, because free to play is fucking exploitative. That's why. And Out of space, yeah.
Do you think that's the only way you see it? I mean, you don't see it. You don't see it's possible to make a free-to-play game which is not.
I think like the process of making this a free-to-play app damaged the game design, and I think that all free-to-play apps have damaged game design based on the requirements. I mean, like, yes, the first 10, 20, 30 minutes of a free-to-play app are good sometimes, right? Like, they're not all good, but I have found enjoyment within Tiny Tower and planting. Like, even the worst of them, there was 5 minutes of, like, how did they get a Lady Gaga sponsorship inside of Farmville? Like, that's actually a kind of funny thing, right? That you can plant Lady Gaga trees or something like that, or like this really weird thing, like a like totally artificial ice cream stick plant that you can plant. It's like this really weird world in which there's like natural versions of horrible chemical things. So like there was for me enjoyment within Farmville, like discovering this crazy world that Farmville exists within. But I think that you have to, at a certain point, charge people for something. So okay, I'll rewind and take back my earlier statement. There is good free-to-play. Like Doom Shareware was an excellent free-to-play game. That was the finest free-to-play game. I never paid for it because I got all the enjoyment I needed out of the demo version. But it was like, that was a good free-to-play. I think that that's the model that we should look for if we're doing free-to-play stuff. Because saying that like, you have the choice to grind or the choice to pay is a frustrating one. So, yeah.
But say this game you sold it, like you make it free, and then I don't know if you want more sound sets.
Yeah, we did that with a sequel called Pug Synth. We just like tore out the thing where you can make the dogs sing, and then you can upgrade. You can pay an extra 99p or tier 1, whatever, to get get alternate skins, which gives you different synthesizers, et cetera, et cetera. That didn't do very well. I mean, free to play. So there's another thing with free to play, which is that there's a confirmation bias in people who are talking about it. And that confirmation bias is that free-to-play will make you money, which totally isn't true. Free-to-play will not make you money. It's a huge, 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 huge gamble. And I think that, I think that confirmation bias is damaging to, it was damaging to me. I thought because I'm making free-to-play, I'm going to make money off of it, but the reality of the situation is even though we have like really cute characters and like I don't know what else, but, you know, like it's aesthetically pleasing, et cetera, we're not going to get the hundreds of thousands of downloads we need to make the money off of it. I might make Noise something free to play. I don't know if I port that to that game that we just played to iOS. No, I don't. I probably won't though. It seems like. Anyways, anything else? Do I need to stop?
No, I have a question myself. You often refer to making applications and games that allow the player to create something that is his own. Is it actually possible to, for example, export or something what you did with the game so that you actually like created a piece of music that's then just a piece of music which you can like put on your iPhone or whatever and hear it and whatever?
No. We you can hook up an 1/8-inch cable. It requires a little bit of extra work. We put in a feature that you can listen to your Game Center friends' worlds, and that's been used like a grand total of twice or something. So it turns out that like creating stuff for yourself is pretty important, but sharing your creativity I don't know what. I think it's just this particular application. Like it has this kind of hypnotic thing that you go into, and you don't need to share that hypnotic state with other people as much. But yeah. Anything else? All right, that's it. Thanks.